Thank you for waiting, everybody. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Calling the roll, everybody is here tonight. And now let's move on to presentations, recognitions, awards.
Thank you, Mr. Rabinowitz. And we're going to call Dr. Ziegler up for a few special awards for National Merit Scholar.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're going to recognize two outstanding academic students at Pottsgrove High School. With that, we're going to be looking at the National Merit Scholar. And our first one, if you're not aware of the National Merit Scholarship Program, juniors, students in their junior year, take the PSAT. And that helps them qualify to get a high enough score to be a National Merit Scholar. 1.5 million juniors will take the PSAT and try to compete for National Merit Scholarship. Out of those 1.5 million, 33,500 students will earn the status of commendable of that highest score. I am honored today to present to you a 12th grade student at Pottsgrove High School, outstanding academic student, highly involved in our robotics program and another number of other programs at Pottsgrove. This National Merit Scholarship Program, this letter of commendation is awarded to Eric W. Maynard for outstanding performance on the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test in 2014. So I'm going to ask Eric and his parents to come up. Rick, do you mind coming out? Just get a picture with him real quick. Shellie, you mind? Stand right there, John. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, awesome.
Out of those 33,000 students, 15,000 students will qualify for semifinalist status. Those students then are required to take the SAT in their senior year, and out of that, they have to complete an extensive application. Between the SAT scores and the extensive application, National Merit Scholar finalists are selected. Only 8,000 nationwide are selected from the 1.5 million juniors. Pottsgrove is honored to have this year a National Merit Scholar finalist. We recognized her in front of the faculty. We're going to recognize her tonight. We're going to recognize her in front of the students at Senior Awards Assembly. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Senior Elizabeth Driehaus, 2016 National Merit Scholar, for earning this through the College Board. Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. In addition to that, we have our swimmers competed in district championships. We had 2 swimmers that were district champs, Michael Pryor, Kevin Bash. 5 others will move on to states. We had several who won in the medley, and our DECA students, a number of those went to won states and will be going off to nationals. So thank you so much.
All right. While we're recognizing our excellent students from Pottsgrove High School, I posted in various capacities that I would like to start recognizing our students who have been accepted to colleges. And tonight will be the first, hopefully, of many of these as we complete this school year. So I have a few students that I'd like to tell the community about. Linda McIntyre has been accepted to Albright College and was awarded a $64,000 Presidential Award. She also was accepted to Eastern University and was awarded a $60,000 Merit Award, as well as offered a position in their Leadership Forum, which carries a $2,000 per year stipend for each year she would participate. She was also accepted to Ursinus College and offered a $96,000 Merit Award. She also qualified for a science scholarship, which would provide an additional $3,000 per year, as well as summer research opportunities. Linda has narrowed her choices to Ursinus and Eastern. Special recognition should go to Kyra Ebert, one of our excellent guidance counselors. She has tended to the many, many scholarships Linda has applied for, as well as provided all of the documentation and direction during the application processes for these 3 schools. And that's, I'll go through all of these, and let's hold applause till the end. Andrew Smith was also accepted to Albright College's honor program and earned a $104,000 scholarship, and also was accepted to Ursinus and earned a $96,000 scholarship. Andrew would like to thank all the staff at PGHS. Sidney Hernandez was accepted for early admission to Pennsylvania College of Technology in June 2015. He'll be studying cyber systems and network security. Molly McGeehan, daughter of Kathy McGeehan, one of our great teachers at Lower Pottsgrove Elementary, has been accepted to Penn State Berks. Molly would like to thank Brett Mazzarelli, social studies teacher at Pottsgrove High School, who taught her not to view things as black and white and to think outside of the box. Kyle Leach was accepted to Ohio State and was awarded a $53,200 National Buckeye Scholarship and Trevose Scholarship. By the way, Al, I picked Kyle because he's the younger one. He was also accepted to the University of Alabama and awarded a $51,900 Foundation of Excellence Scholarship. Finally, he was accepted to Purdue University and awarded with a $40,000 Presidential Scholarship. Kyle would like to thank Gary Christ. Austin Leach was accepted to Ohio State and was awarded a $57,000 National Buckeye and Prevost Scholarship, and was accepted to the University of Alabama and was awarded with a $113,800 Presidential Scholarship. And he was accepted to Purdue University as well. Austin would like to thank Mr. Huey, another one of our science teachers at PGHS. And finally, Emily Glenecki was accepted to and will attend Arizona State University this fall, majoring in exercise science. She received both academic and athletic scholarships. Emily will swim for the Division I team and be coached by Bob Bowman, Olympic team coach for 2016, Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian of all time, and Misty Hyman, 2000 Olympic 200 butterfly gold medalist. Many teachers, administrators, and coaches have helped along the way, including Mrs. Kathy Williams, who helped instill confidence, maturity, and growth in the years that she needed it most. So thank you to all of our great seniors for their hard work, and congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Rabinowitz. And at this time, Dr. Ramage is going to come up and introduce Mrs. Eaton and our Fuel Up to Place 60 recognition.
Thank you. We have an opportunity to recognize our Fuel Up to Place 60 program, which you're probably familiar with. In many ways, we're very active, very successful. Pottsgrove Middle School, particularly in this program. Marilyn Eaton's been the faculty advisor heading this up for a number of years. And who we're focusing on tonight is Maya Kruger, current 8th grader. I'm going to be sorry to lose to the high school, but I can't fail her on purpose just to keep her around. But she is actually now awarded as the state's student ambassador. So she's representing all of Pennsylvania in the Fuel Up to Play movement. And so we have, she's going to give you a few comments, and then we have a little bit of Fuel Up to Play 60 swag to hand out to the board members tonight.
So, good evening. Thanks for having us here this evening. I just want to give you a little bit of background about Fuel Up to Play 60 if you're not aware of it. Fuel Up to Play 60 is partnered with the NFL and the National Dairy Council, and it has 2 major focuses for kids, and it is to eat healthy and to be active, specifically 60 minutes a day. As you may not know, childhood obesity numbers have tripled in the last 30 years. The good news, childhood obesity numbers for the first time have come down. The bad news, they didn't come down in 5 states, and Pennsylvania is one of them. So Fuel Up to Play 60, I think, is one of the best tools that we have at our disposal to really focus in with our kids about how important it is, especially at the middle school, when they are really setting the patterns that they will follow for the rest of their life. It is a fantastic program where it allows students to be the leaders. I step back and she takes charge of this program. So I'm going to turn it over to Maya, and she's going to let you know a little bit about what we've done at Pottsgrove.
So hi, I'm Maya Kruger, and I'm the Fuel Up to Play 60 State Ambassador for Pennsylvania. I've been involved with the program for about 3 years now, and I'd like to keep it going throughout the high school and start a new program at the high school. So at our school, we've done the Super Bowl Challenge, the Milk Chugging Challenge, which is coming up soon, the RIP Party, which was done last week, and we do brain breaks during classes. So let's talk a little bit about the brain breaks. The brain breaks, they get the kids moving and going, and it's proven that test scores go up when the students are getting active before and after their testing or quizzes or stuff. So before the PSSAs that are coming up soon, we walk either around the school if it's raining outside, or we go outside and we walk around the baseball field to bring up test scores, and we try to bring up the test scores for the PSSAs.
Good job. I did want to let you know that Maya had to go through an application process. She was going against thousands of kids in Pennsylvania and was recognized at the end of the school year last year. We got to go out to Chicago to the National Summit, where she met with 198 other students from across the country. Got to exchange ideas, and she came back just fired up about this program. So I'm really excited to have her as my president of Fuel Up to Play 60, the driving force behind it in our building. Thank you.
Congratulations, Maya, once again. Thank you for the swag. And is there any public comment? Going once, twice, sold. I need to announce that the board met for an executive session this evening for personnel matters, which were to review certain performance issues and to review an identifiable complaint regarding a student educational plan. And now let's move on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from 2/9/16? Got a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from 2/23/16?
So moved.
Motion. Can I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Let's move to receiving of accounts for audit.
I move that we accept the high school accounts, middle school accounts, and cafeteria accounts as presented.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I move that we approve the payments of invoices in the amount of $4,688,183.44 for February 2016 as presented.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions?
I just wanted to make one comment. There was one error on the page 3 of the check detail report, 9/3/9/16. The Pottsgrove Education Foundation is listed, but it should say the Pottsgrove Recreation. There's no change in the amount. It's just the wrong vendor was entered into the printout.
Thank you, Mrs. Feola. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I move that we approve the treasurer's report for February 2016 as presented and file it for audit.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, our report of the superintendent. We're going to start with our student board rep, Dominique Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Well, the whole district had parent-teacher conferences yesterday. Last week, the middle school had their spring sports meetings, and they continue to prepare for the musical The Little Mermaid on March 17th, 18th, and 19th. This week, they are continuing preparation for their PSSA testing. Last week, high school DECA students competed at states, and the following students were winners: Bailey Young, Isabella Nelson, Jake Schumacher, Nick Makoid, David Jazorme, Maya Staley, Brady Custer, and Brady Carpenter. High school students read to elementary schools for Read Across America. Renovations started in the old gym last week. This week, we are kicking off spring sports, and this week marked the end of course selections for the following year. The PTSA is hosting a murder mystery dinner with performances by students on Sunday, March 13th from 5 to 7 p.m. at West End Fire Hall. Last week, Ringing Rock students had many activities for Reading Across America. Firefighters, police officers, district office administrators, and school board members read to students. This week, the jump rope for the Heart Assembly will be held. Last week at Lower Pottsgrove, they celebrated Reading Across America. Each day, the students and staff participated in Spirit Days honoring Dr. Seuss books. In honor of Dr. Seuss's 112th birthday, the high school football team, police officers, firefighters, school board members, district office staff all read to students. The 4th annual Doom Dome tournament was held last Saturday. Last week at West Pottsgrove Elementary, they welcomed author Mara Rockcliffe as the key event for Reading Across America. Maya did a presentation on how to cook up a good story for the kids. Folks from Dr. McSurdy's office did an assembly on dental health for the first grade students. This week, the PTA will meet on Thursday the 10th at 6:30 at the library. On Friday the 11th, they will celebrate their second trimester Good Student Citizens with a special lunch of pizza provided by the PTA, and report cards will go home on the 11th as well. This past week, I visited Lower Pottsgrove Elementary and got a chance to talk and read to some of the classes for Reading Across America. It was really great to see all the kids excited about reading in school and other activities that went along with Reading Across America. My younger sister participated in the Doom Dome this past Saturday and was actually one of the teams to end up winning. She said it was a lot of fun and she would love to go to more events like it in the future. And that concludes the student board report.
Thanks, Dominique. And both Dominique and I, he was also able to visit Ringing Rocks, trying to get him out to the buildings and have some interaction with students. So you forgot to mention that, but you were also at Ringing Rocks talking with some of our young students there. And hopefully in the next few weeks, he'll be out to the middle school and we'll make our way over to West. Okay.
Move on to the report of the superintendent. Oh, we already started that. Let's go on to B.
Okay, looking at professional staff, I recommend that you approve the professional staff items as submitted, and that would include the A page.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
I do have a comment. I see on here, it's kind of sad to me, but Mrs. Williams is going to be retiring, and she's been the foundation for our music program for years, even when my kids came in kindergarten. So I just wish her the best. I mean, she's done a lot for Pottsgrove, and her family's done a lot for Pottstown in music. So it's good news, bad news, kind of sad, bittersweet.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I recommend that you approve the support staff items as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I recommend that you approve the student-teacher assignment as submitted.
Second. Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I recommend that you approve the supplemental special payments as submitted.
So moved.
Motion, can I have a second, please? Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Moving on to business, I recommend that you authorize Pottsgrove School District to accept the grant from Bentley Systems as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? I'll make a comment that these grants from Bentley Systems were started by former Board Director Dave Faulkner when he was working for Bentley Systems, and it's nice to see that even though he's no longer working there, they're still donating money. And a question that I have is when we say that it's going to be to further expand PGSD science, technology, engineering, and math skills, are these funds earmarked for anything specifically, or just does the grant require us to earmark it?
Well, they've already kind of been spent, I think, on the robotics program, but yeah.
There you go. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I recommend that you approve the budget transfers for February 2016 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries 8-0 with an abstention.
Okay. I recommend that you approve the payment of the invoices listed above.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
And then we had an A-page item for business. I recommend that you approve the agreements between the district and the two students' parents as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. Motion carries 8-0 with an abstention.
Moving on to education, I recommend that you approve the conference attendance as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a comment and question in regards to the conferences. Every week, or every 2 weeks, it seems, that we're approving different conferences and such like that. and the details on these are very few and far between. So I went back and I did a little fact checking to see where we're at and everything like that. And I found that we actually, just in this year, approved 74 different conferences for totaling over $30-some thousand. And I'm not exactly sure if we're, with our district, our budget and everything like that, as into whether or not these all should be approved just unilaterally like they've been approved. I looked at some of the other school districts and how they actually list the conferences and such, and they're much more detailed than we are. They, like, for example, I just picked up Springford. Their conferences will say the date the conference is, what the conference is about, the budget that's coming from the conference, what part of the budget it's coming from, and I don't understand why ours has like 2 sentences and says nothing. And maybe that's just a reason for it, I don't know. But also, I wanted to discuss, I mean, do we really need to start looking at some of these and saying, okay, let's approve what we definitely want to approve for our teachers and our administrators, and then look and see if every single thing has to be approved. I looked over our budget, and I did where we actually pull from. If I'm not mistaken, it's the 580 section. That's where we're pulling from. And we're spending $109,000 on travel. Now, obviously, that's going to be pieced out, not just the conferences. It's going to be obviously other items and such. And just 2 years ago, we were spending $80,000. So we spend like $30,000 more in just 2 years. And I'm just trying to figure out, is it really beneficial? Are we really getting enough out of our dollars that we're spending? Besides the no details, are we really getting what we're asking to be getting?
Well, I mean, I'll just make a comment back. We can certainly give you more information should that be something that you need. All of these things, we have a process that our administrators have to go through if they want to attend a conference. It has to be tied to our goals. Some of the things, one of the things, like you see Dr. Ziegler listed here, our administrators have certain Act 45 requirements that they have to meet. We can't offer those in the district. It's very difficult to get approval for an Act 45 opportunity. Our IUs don't even really get them. It's, you know, they're just, there's only like universities will have them. They're just difficult to get. So typically our administrators have to go out to get the Act 45, and that's required for their research. Whereas the difference is with our teachers, they need Act 48 credit, and we can provide that in district. So oftentimes you're sending the administrators out because they have to go out to get it.
And I have no problem with that.
So that one,
Act 45 necessary.
yeah, I thought we had put that in your news and notes, and I don't know why. I don't.
It was in the news and notes.
Okay. So I've been trying to put the detail in there for you, and when we move to board notes, we can continue to put the detail in, and you.
I mean, like, perfect example I'm going to ask about is, I know that it probably was very beneficial, but did we really need to spend whatever it costs to send 4 administrators to Orlando the other day? I didn't like when the previous board approved all 4 to go. I still don't think it was something we needed everybody to go to. I can understand the certain individuals that did go and were invited to go to do a presentation. Absolutely understood those. I just didn't understand. I mean, like, what is the district getting out of sending all our different administrators to all these different sites?
Well, I explained that particular one. We were asked to come as an honor and a give back to a national conference for something that we had worked, not one administrator worked very hard in, but all, you know, a team of people from the teacher level all the way up to the superintendent to be able to launch that initiative and make that a success. And that's why the board, you know, authorized to get us to be able to go to that, and also that NASSP funded a good portion of it as well. So, and I did put that in an update for you as well.
I'm just curious, though. So, and we're just talking about this one you were just talking with Al about. So you're invited to go, right? Why is the district footing the bill?
Well, because it's kind of a give back to the
I'm not done yet.
profession.
So, but I'm just curious. We're paying, you know, as Al said, thousands of dollars to send administrators and teachers all over the place. We don't ever see any kind of benefit from that. Nothing's ever presented to us. How does this benefit the students? All of these, how does it benefit them? And in this case, going to Orlando, 4 people going to Orlando cost, I don't know, I didn't vote on it, at least a couple $1,000s. But yet, when it comes to sending the students on a field trip, an educational field trip, they're told that, no field trip, your parents can take you to Gettysburg. But yet we've got the administrators and going all over the place, flying all over the country on our dime, but yet we try to get some high school kids to go to Gettysburg or to go see an educational movie, and they're told no.
I don't know what you're talking about in terms of that example that you just provided.
I'm using it as an analogy where we're approving all of these, monies spent to send adults places, but when it comes time to send the kids somewhere that would be educational and that would benefit whatever they're learning in the classroom at that time, the teachers are told no.
Well, the teachers aren't told no, but you have to understand that you have a board policy with regard to field trips, and our charge is to follow your policy. So we follow your policy to a T in terms of field trips. So if you'd like to change that policy, then I would suggest you take it to the policy committee, because we're implementing the policy the board made.
But if it's an educational trip,
I can't make a teacher go, but as I said, you have guidelines that articulate verbatim how we treat an educational trip, a field trip, a national competition. It's all spelled out in your board policy.
I know. I'm just trying to tie the two things together, where you come to the board and ask for all this $30,000 to be spent on sending people places, but then when it comes time to actually put the education in motion and help the children actually see what they've been learning about, and that's no. And if we need to make a policy change, then that'll be revisited. But I'm just trying to point out that there needs to be more information given and more feedback given to the board. If we're going to spend this kind of money sending people places to conventions and stuff, then we need to see what kind of benefits the district is receiving from spending all of that money.
Can I piggyback on that? Each meeting where we vote to approve conferences, there's typically at least one that I vote no, and with explanation. I think we should always give explanation when we're voting no. In addition to what you're saying, Mr. Leach, Ms. Custer, I would like to see a plan in place, and I'll make a motion during new business because we already have a motion on the table, that when a teacher or administrator goes to a conference or seminar or training, whatever, that there be a formal plan in place that explains what they're going to do with that information when they return. So if we're going to invest in this money, let's make sure we're getting the best, bang for our buck. So whether it be they're going to present for 15 minutes during the next in-service day, whether it's more of a departmental thing, whatever the case is. But I have trouble, and I'm going to ask again that these conferences that we vote on each separately. I won't be voting for A because, again, we don't have a plan in place for that teacher to come back and share the information with their department.
Well, I'd like to go back to policy to get this under wraps, take it back to the committee, but I'm on the other end. I'm not one for spending a lot of money, but we need to educate our administrators. We need to keep them up to speed what's going on. If you want to see a presentation, what they're bringing back, every time they go to a conference, bring it back. Who do you think benefits it? It's the students. Absolutely, it's the students. But just like I'm on the other board at the Western Center, those boards are all for education, their administrators, and keeping up to speed with what's going on out there. And and getting the best we can to stay up to date. And the only way you can do this is by attending conferences when you can't do it in-house. I mean, for years, Pottsgrove has always tried to keep it in-house, but there's just some limitations that they can't. But I like I said, I don't like to spend money. And, but then again, like Ashley's saying, that's apple and oranges to me, because that was an incident that happened with the students, which had nothing to do, but they didn't follow policy. That has nothing to do with the administrators going to Florida for a conference. But I do believe that we do need to have and budget for our administrators and for our teachers to attend these conferences. I think it's very, very important.
Well, I think that that the conference budget has been an area of controversy since I've been on the board, and probably before. I think that that I would agree that some more detail might be useful on some of these. For example, in our news and notes, we found out that that Dr. Ziegler's trip to this leadership summit satisfies a certain amount of credits that he needs for Act 45, but without knowing how many credits he has already obtained, it's only incomplete information, just as an example. And I'm sure it's a valuable experience, and yet I am also empathetic to the point Ashley is making. Even if it is apples and oranges, sometimes the appearance of an inequity can be problematic, even if one doesn't exist. So while they may be apples and oranges, if you're the student who didn't get to go on the field trip while the board is approving money for trips to sunny, warm places, then it might cause some angst in the community, and I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to do a little bit more due diligence, or at least be aware of the due diligence that is already being done, if in fact it's already being done. So with that said, since does anybody else have any more comments?
I have one more comment in regards to, I do agree with you, Patty, when it comes to training and everything like that. I do want to point out, though, that we are not spending our money. We're not spending the teachers or administrators' money. We're spending the taxpayers' money. And I know many companies, my wife's and many other companies, that your professional education and certification is on you. You find, in my office, it's the same way. You find it's your job to be certified. It's your job to keep up. I have many, many requirements with my different companies, and it's my requirement to keep up on my certifications and such, and out of my pocket. And the same goes for many of our taxpayers' companies, which will go to them and say, we're not paying for you to go into a conference in Vegas or Orlando or wherever it may be to get this certification. You get your certification, it's on your dollar. That's all I would ask for, is to be more cognizant of how much money we're spending that is not our money. It is the taxpayers' money, and to make sure that the money that is going to the right places for the conferences. And more detail, of course, in what we're spending.
And most businesses don't run like a school district.
I'm sorry, I'm going to say, I'm tired of hearing that schools are not a business. The school is a business. It hires thousands of people. It should be. I'm sorry, it should be. It's a big business. Schools are big business. Colleges, big businesses. School districts, big businesses. When you're spending $65 million and hiring thousands of people, you're a business, and you're a big business. You may be nonprofit, but you're still a big business.
And just let me point out that not all schools do pay for the conferences, because I know where my wife teaches, there was a conference where she wanted to attend, and they told that'd be fine, but it is on your dime. But I wanted to comment that I really agree that we should have some sort of presentation, or actually no, we shouldn't necessarily have a presentation, but something be planned so that, you know, when the teacher comes back, even though yes, the students will benefit, that's the ultimate goal. have it planned ahead of time so that, because what happens is they're going to come back from wherever they were and they're going to be caught up with teaching. And suddenly it'll be a week, a month later, and then some of the things might have been forgotten. Whereas planning ahead of time, like, okay, I know when I come back, I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have to do that. I can get that stuff ahead of time, prep it, so I have those notes, so I don't forget. So if we try to have something planned, or they have something planned, I think it would make more sense and more justifiable for these expenses.
All right. Has everybody said what they want to say? Mr. Parker asked that we separate these, so we're going to need separate motions.
There was already a motion on the table.
Yeah, but yes, to separate them. So I guess.
So moved. Just whoever made the motion, withdraw the motion, right, and then place another motion.
Yeah. So whoever made Patty.
So I'll withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
So they will not be combined together.
Correct. So let's start with A. And can I have a motion for letter A?
So moved.
A motion. Can I have a second?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carry.
Was that Al?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion
sorry.
carries 7-2. And for B,
So
Can-
moved.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second.
Bill?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. And finally, C,
So moved.
motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Can we have any, are there any comments or questions?
I'll be voting no to this for a different reason. In consideration of the salaries of the administrators, I believe that this is something that, and it is something required for their certification, that they should really pay it on their own, so I'll be voting no.
Any other comments or questions? I'll actually be voting no on this because of the proximity to the conference that was just discussed, as well as a statement I made in the beginning of the year that I wouldn't be voting in favor of sending administrators to conferences when we had to raise taxes last year. So with that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No?
Okay, I didn't catch all the no's. So it's
No.
Well, it's Bill.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Motion fails. 4-5.
I'd like to make a comment, just to make you aware of something. You know, Dr. Ziegler had his doctorate when he started in Pottsgrove, so I think I can say with 100% certainty he has not used any monies for tuition. The Act 93 agreement allows for tuition up to, a certain amount of money. I think it's $9,500 per year. So some of our other administrators can get their Act 45 certification requirements handled through that means, whereas someone like Dr. Ziegler cannot because he already finished his education. So I think that it's a little unfair, considering that you have an Act 93 agreement that's giving some administrators up to $9,500 a year because they have to go to school, just as we give our teachers tuition reimbursement, that we would penalize someone like Dr. Ziegler who has his doctorate that needs these credits that are here for his recertification.
In light of that, does anybody want to change their vote?
Can I say something? Thank you. So we're going to sit here and not allow the principal of our high school at this point not to attend a conference, a summit, to further his professional career. We discussed the reasons why, and I appreciate everybody saying why. Bill, you say you always explain why you voted no, and I think that's outstanding. I think we all should do that. With that being said, we just discussed this, and I've known Dr. Ziegler, and then this is just personal, so for me, I've known Dr. Ziegler since I moved to this district in 2003. Dr. Ziegler knows all my children. I think the world of Dr. Ziegler. I think he's done an exemplary job for this district. I I just can't wrap my head around the fact that we're going to deny him to go to this conference, and that's enough said.
Can I just clarify, as far as my vote goes, and as I understood the motion was to approve the district funding the conference. I certainly am not against Dr. Ziegler attending this conference. And I would, by the way, would second your opinions, observations of Dr. Ziegler. Excellent, excellent principal. But it's just the funding issue that is personally my concern.
Moving on to the second item, this recommendation was to approve the 2016-17 calendar as presented, and what was presented last week was a different option than we discussed the month prior, because when I explained the option on the table the month prior, we thought we had union support for it. The union then said that they couldn't support it, so I came back with the other option, which is what's here presented to you. But late yesterday, I was made aware that the union took a vote, and they've changed their position, and they would like to support the option that calls for a half a day on December the 23rd, and that would be a half day for teachers and staff, for 10-month teachers and staff, not 12-month. And then at the end of the year, instead of having 3 half days for students, there would be 2 half days. Both of those days would be full days for teachers. And that's the difference from the one that's on the table here.
So I'll make a motion to approve that one with the half day on the 23rd in light of the extra time that the bargaining unit took to survey its members and make sure that everybody was on the same page. That was the original recommendation of the administration anyway. So that's my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a lot of seconds. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
Just a comment. Thank you to the union leadership for going back to the teachers and getting their input. I think it was a wise decision to do that, and hopefully we continue that type of thing moving forward.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
I recommend that you approve the new and revived policies as submitted.
So moved.
Second. I'm going to add it now. Motion is second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Committee items. Committee.
Okay. Committee reports? Committee reports?
Wait.
No,
Go.
you're you.
On March 1st, the Curriculum, Technology, and Student Affairs Committee met to discuss mainly 2 major items. The first item being, and everybody has obviously the minutes, and for the public, I did post it on Facebook, so everybody saw the exact same posting that we're going to say here. I'm not going to go word for word because everybody saw it, but the main crust was 2 parts. One, the Carnegie Math Learning Program, which we discussed in pretty good in length there, as into what was going on with our thing. The 2 points that I wanted to point out from the minutes would be the implementation dip. I understand we actually discussed with the Sue Hamilton as into regards to what's going on with our math scores. There is some concern with our math scores being lower since we started the Carnegie Learning Program approximately 3 years ago. And to her, to say exactly what she said was, we're experiencing what's called an implementation dip. In essence, you're taking 2 steps back to hopefully take 3 steps forward. After pressed from the committee members there, she did explain that you should start to see improvements after the 3rd year. Well, we're in the 3rd year, so we're technically, I guess, 4 after the pilot, but 3rd year fully implementation of the 3rd year. So the board is hoping to see some improved numbers this year after our testing results. Some of the things that we discussed, actually, one of the things I wanted to point out was really interesting was the survey they did on how students learn. According to Ms. Hamilton, the 3 most effective means for having students learn were 1, doing practice, 2, teaching one another, and 3, teaching and assessing one another, which I found kind of interesting that, in essence, the students would actually help each other, and I guess what we call that productive struggling, and where they're working together in groups, as in teaching themselves how to solve the different problems. We actually did a couple of math problems, and it is effective. There are some questions, of course, that are still going to be going, and we're going to have to discuss those, but it was kind of interesting to go through. The second part is going to be the ranking issue. The ranking, or what we're discussing in that part, is going to be in regards to what we're going to do with ranking after this year, from 2017, 2018, and going forward. There's going to be some recommendations given to us by the administration, probably either at the next or the following board meeting. But all of the committee members in general agreed that ranking does need to be continue in some form, whether it's going to be 1 out of 50, 1 out of 250, top 10%, top 25%. That wasn't finalized, but we are going to continue keeping ranking in some form. Also, all members of the committee did also agree that we need to keep the valedictorian and the salutatorian designations. So we're going to keep both of those as well. It's just a question of how we want to continue showing ranking on the transcript. And, of course, we want to make sure that to our students, we're showing them in the best light. So we have very limited space, but we want to make sure we're putting as much on there as we can and distinguish as many students as we can as possible. Starting in about a month, we're going to go to a couple of new things are going to be added. We're going to I don't know. Are we going to? This one's I don't know now. We were originally going to have an update with the gifted program.
Next month.
April 18th? Okay.
17th, I think it is.
Okay, so we'll continue to go with that. So we will have that. And another area that we have been hemming and hawing back and forth, and I think this is something that's going to be prime on our discussion next week, is grading practices again. I know that we're been working through going to the standardized base grading, and it's been a struggle, but we're plowing through, trying to get, to the spot that we want to be in. We're not there, but we'll obviously need more discussion, and we'll get more updates on that as well at the next meeting, which it's April 18th.
Oh, it is? I'm sorry.
19th?
Oh.
19th.
I looked at it on
We're
the
working
calendar
our way.
today.
I don't know. I
Mr.
looked
Leach,
in the
apologize.
calendar. So I'm going to go by Diane. If Diane says it's 19, it's 19. Yeah, it's 19 then.
And just to piggyback on that, we are working on both those issues for you, and we will be bringing information back. I did promise the class rank, based on the recommendations of your committee, we're working to memorialize the information in a change that we need to make to our policy to make it official, and also in our administrative regulations, which really just details out on the back end how we handle certain things, like the students that attend Western Center, students that transfer in, students that go to Montco part-time versus full-time. So all those details, though we discuss with the committee, they don't go in the policy, but they go in the administrative regulation, and that will prevent, I think, inconsistencies from happening in the future, so that anyone that's in the high school would be able to refer to that and see what it is they're supposed to be doing, so that they don't make decisions without referring to what was put in writing for them. So it's just a way to keep them focused on what it is that we had agreed to. And with regard to the grading, I did meet with Bill Shirk and I met with a committee or a handful of teachers from the high school to start having conversation about concerns that they felt. And we had a really nice meeting. This just happened yesterday. We're working together to try to come up with what the issues are from their perspective. We're also working, Andy Clark agreed to help me craft some questions that we might want to use, and then get Dominique involved, because I asked for his involvement at this point. I haven't had a chance to speak to him yet, because this just happened yesterday afternoon. But Mr. Clark agreed to help me craft some questions for a survey so that we could then survey the student body to get their perspective on certain practices that have been implemented or that will be implemented in the timeline according to the grading practices. We can bring that feedback back. And then what I think the next step would be is to get those perceptions, the teachers' perceptions, the parent perceptions, and then some board members, and then we'll form a small committee that has representation of all of those stakeholder groups to come together at the table to have this conversation and try to come back with recommendations to the board about modifications or revisions to your current grading practices guideline book. So that's my plan in the short term. We talked it through yesterday. I haven't had a chance to sit and meet with Mr. Voorhees yet, but I was going to be doing that tomorrow. But that's just where my thought process is, because I want to make sure that we get the feedback from all of the stakeholder groups, not the loudest voice, but just making sure it's representative, and then we'll come back with some recommendations. Okay.
Comment and question on that. I think it's great that you're getting feedback from all the stakeholders, including the students. I think that's vital. Question on how the teachers were picked that you met with, and what can we do to make sure, if we haven't, to make sure that we hear from the whole teaching staff. So if there's some with differing opinions, that we hear it all.
Well, the teachers weren't picked. They actually came forward to me to bring their concerns to me. So we had those conversations with them, and I asked them to help me with trying to ensure that we tackle this from, with objectivity, and because we did have a committee before, and I think that some of those people volunteered for the committee, or a principal might have tapped them on the back or whatnot. But this time, I'd like to go beyond just the committee and get teacher representation from it's really the secondary schools that we're having issue with, not the elementary. So from the middle school and the high school, and I don't know if the teachers want to pick their own people. It doesn't really matter. We just need representation from both groups. And I think that the group that met with me yesterday was a good voice from the high school. I just think we need now to get a few from the middle school, and then maybe surveying them back out as a collective body as well with regard to the certain practices that have been implemented and how it's working or not working. That's what we haven't fleshed out yet, but that was a conversation we had.
Okay. I'd like to see either a survey at whatever point go out to the whole staff, to the middle and high school, and/or an open invitation. Hey, we're meeting on this day and time to discuss this. Please, if you'd like to come out.
Moving on to the Operations Facilities Committee.
He didn't accept his minutes.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from the March 1st, 2016 meeting? Motion and a second. Any further comments or questions?
Question. Accepting the minutes is simply accepting his report. It's not agreeing with the recommendations, correct? So if they're going to make any recommendations, there'll be separate motions.
Mark had asked that we word it that way because you're not all at the meetings. You're just accepting the...
That is correct, yes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Now, moving on to the Operations Facilities Committee report.
Thank you. Tonight the Operations Facilities Committee met tonight prior to the meeting, and we discussed with our Operations Director, Facilities Director, gave us a great presentation on our 10-year capital projection plan, what the immediate needs are for this year, and projecting out. Basically, we discussed all of the buildings and grounds, immediate needs, and a lot of discussion on things that are coming up, mostly lifespan issues of certain things that are going to need, not saying they're going to fail, but they're going to need replacing. So we discussed that and laughed. That was the only thing we discussed tonight. So that was the gist of our meeting. Thank you.
Can I just add a comment or maybe ask a question? Mr. Cardwell, April 12th is your next Operations and Facilities meeting, and tonight I heard the direction was for the committee to go back through what you had recommended and determine whether all or part of that recommendation is going to be brought forward to the full board for the immediate 16-17, summer of 16 and really 16-17 school year. Does that allow us enough time? If the committee meets again on April 12th, could we then bring that forward to the board either that evening or the 26th of, I think it's the 26th of April? Yeah. Is that going to give you enough time?
Yes, for
Okay.
the items that we had selected, if they are approved, myself and staff will have to diligently over a 2-month period work to get bids out
Okay.
for that and to see if we can accomplish the different tasks over the summer and the upcoming school year.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure. Thank you.
That works, thank you.
And last, Policy Committee, Mr. Alexander?
Sure, I
think we just need to accept the minutes.
Motion that we accept the minutes from the Policy Committee meeting on February 23rd.
I'll second that. I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. New business?
I wanted to bring one thing forward to you. Last evening, the JOC met, which is the Joint Operating Committee of the Western Montgomery Career and Technical Center. And at that meeting, I had sent you some information a few weeks ago about the possibility of a refinance of the bonds. And the committee voted to accept a resolution to allow us to move forward in terms of the process that it takes to refinance a bond. But, and Mark, you can fill in the blanks because you're more articulate of this than I am. But essentially now each district, so Pottsgrove School District, has to accept a resolution to give them the authority to move forward. And then Springford will have to do it, and then Upper Perk will have to do it. And if you want to just...
Remember, addressing those of you that haven't been through the process. Those of you that have not been through the process before, the Western Montgomery County Technical Center Career Center is simply a joint operating committee of 3 sending school districts, which is Pottsgrove, Springford, and Upper Perk. They have no taxing authority, and actually the facility is owned in the name of the sending school districts. As a result, there was in 2008 when the building was significantly renovated and added on to a $40-some million bond issue. At this point, because of the favorable interest rates, the JOC has gone forward to refinance the remaining $32.5 million. You have to participate again because you're a sending district, and ultimately you will sign a lease with the conduit issuer, which is going to be a Health and Education Authority from the North Penn area, who has agreed at a very modest price, $5,000, to act as the conduit issuer. Jamie Doyle indicated last night, who is also your financial advisor, that was a favorable way to do this. Again, you don't have to approve anything but entering in a resolution, ultimately entering into the appropriate leases where you as the sending districts, the JOC, will lease the ground to the authority, who will then lease it back. It's a complex transaction, but I think probably what you'd be most curious about, and I'll answer as best I can any questions you have, and perhaps Dave can help me, but I would think probably the first question you have is how much are we getting or how much are we saving? And the projected savings right now is $1,382,329.84. The JOC last night passed what's called a parameters resolution, and they're certainly hoping to get that or a better number, as you will. But the parameters resolution indicated they would not accept any less than 3% after all costs are deducted. And when asked to how much that would be, Ms. Doyle indicated that would still get you, I believe, somewhere close to $800,000. Obviously, there is some urgency in the sense that, as you're all aware, interest rates do move, and because you're talking about $32.5 million, a little bit more than the mortgage on my house, that when you get a slight movement in interest rates there, that translates into significant dollars. So the JOC last night had an appetite for the savings, felt it was the right time, and based on the financial advisor's recommendation, did vote to go forward. Upper Perk, I know, is considering a similar resolution to yours tonight on Thursday night. Springford does not meet till later in the month. So what you're being asked to do tonight, well, let me stop and ask the best I can. I'm not a bond lawyer or a tax lawyer, and I have the suggestion, but let me try to answer any questions you might have at this point to the best of my ability. Okay, so what you're asked to do tonight then is to pass a resolution that suggests that the bonds will be refunded in the amount of $32,500,000, that the conduit authority will be the North Penn Education and Health Authority, that Fox Rothschild will act as bond counsel, and ultimately, if the JOC moves forward, you'll sign the appropriate lease documents. That's the resolution you're being asked to pass tonight.
And I know I asked you this, Mrs. Feola, but what the JOC does with the funds after the bond is these savings are realized. Can you tell us what would likely happen?
Let me, I can answer that. Well, and Dave, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but what will happen is the way this is being carried forward, the savings is you pay the debt service. You pay a share of the debt service. And I would expect your question to be, what's our share of the debt service? Your share of the debt service is 24.56%. And what will happen is that you will have your debt payments reduced by an appropriate amount. Now, let me say to you, and I don't think you need to worry about it tonight. I'm not being glib about it. There is a request from the chair down there that because you're saving money, there was a suggestion a reserve be built up. But that, because of the way this transaction works, there's not a savings coming back to the JOC. So the money doesn't have to be divvied up. It will come to you in the sense you will pay less. And so in order to achieve the result that that individual wants, you'll have to then raise your budget here to the JOC. And so, you know, at that point, you'll say yes or no in terms of the budget process.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to know. So,
Can I just say one thing real quick?
Yep.
It's really important to remember, it's not like before we got a lump sum back. It's just going to lower our payments. But as much as I would hope the blessings that we do pass this resolution, because it's very important for our building over there. And then the other issue we are having is we have no revenue over there. We have $50,000 in the capital reserve. So if anything goes wrong, they're gonna come back to all three sending schools. So we have two issues here, but we need to start talking about a reserve, as John was shocked yesterday to find out that we only had $50,000 in our capital reserve, but.
It's not really a capital reserve.
No, it's
called
I wasn't planning on discussing this issue tonight, but since it was raised, I have to say I completely disagree. I don't think that the JOC needs a reserve at all. I think that if they need money from the sending schools, that they should come to the sending schools. We maintain reserves out of our budgets. Why would we create a duplicate reserve? Mrs. Feola, do you have an opinion on this?
Well, I just...
For a moment, I apologize, Shellie. May I respectfully suggest we take care of this first, and then, you know, in the parlance of when I was a younger person, knock yourself out, and we'll have that debate if you choose.
Fair enough. At the advice of counsel, can I have a motion to accept the resolution? So moved. Here's a motion. Can I have a second? Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Go.
Well, to respond to your question, Mr. Rabinowitz, when I became the superintendent of record several years ago at the Western Center, we did an in-depth review of their finances and found that there was quite a bit of surplus money just sitting there. So I got the business managers from the 3 districts and the superintendents from the 3 districts together, and we scoured through the budget, and I made recommendation back that we send that money back based on the recommendation of the business managers to the sending districts, and then we just keep that $50,000 in the budget, which comes from general fund monies and part of our pro rata share, and that's based on how many students we send. So we're all divvied up based on our average, 5-year average daily membership. That's how they come up with the contribution. So it's not split equally 3 ways. It's based on your number of students. And so that $50,000 we left there for emergencies and just in case money, with the idea that any large capital reserve projects, we would go back to the districts because each district has a capital reserve fund. Now, the one caveat to this is in the bylaws or the articles of agreement, I think they're called at the JOC. When that was formed many years ago, Springford has to pay a larger amount toward capital projects. So if we were to entertain a capital project at the JOC, and the JOC approved it, Springford's board would have to pay more than Upper Perkiomen and Pottsgrove, and that's by articles of agreement. If this board agrees to send more money into the reserve account at the Western Center, then that money is being given based on your average daily membership. So Pottsgrove would be paying more doing it that way than you would be if you waited and gave the money through your capital reserve. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So I can't recommend the other way because it's more money for us.
Thanks. Where are we here? Any other new business?
I have a couple things. Looking over the expenditures for this past month, just a question, has there been a study done, I don't want to recreate the wheel here, on, we currently contract out for security. Would there be savings if we had our own security department? And the same question goes for transportation.
Well, for transportation, we're not paying, there's a lot of people involved in transportation, and you'd have to pay employee benefits. So there'd be a significant increase probably for us to go forward with transport. We save money contracting service for transportation. With regard to security, Dave can give you a more detailed amount of money, but we spent more this year because of the high school renovation project. So some of those things that you see on there, remember, we were concerned with security. We were concerned with different parts of the building having to be quarantined or monitored because we have to leave doors open to allow the contractors in and out or to keep students out of a particular area that they're working. So we actually have more security there for this year, but typically we wouldn't. So we can do a study. I don't know that we've done a study for security, but I would guess that we're going to pay more just because of the benefits and salaries. I mean, one of the things we talked about years ago is whether or not we would be better served with security force as opposed to the SRO program. But obviously there are benefits of having our local police involved in our school buildings as well. So I know that conversation had been had a few years ago with the board, but they didn't choose to make any changes at that time.
Thank you. As I said earlier, I mentioned at each meeting, so I think it's time to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that the board direct administration to create a formal process to be in place that would require anyone attending a conference, seminar, that type of thing, have a plan in place and for them to present it to the appropriate personnel, whether that be specific to a department, school-wide, et cetera.
Do I have to say, so moved? Or second? Second.
Can I just make sure I'm clear on exactly what you're motioning? I understand the gist of what you want. I just want to make sure that we're clear about what it is that we're requesting. So could you provide a little more detail?
Yeah, I won't word it in a motion. I probably should have typed it out to make it sound appropriate. But what I'm looking for is when a conference request is put in, that part of what they have to fill out is, this is how I'm going to bring back the information, or first of all, this is who else would benefit from this conference, whether it's department, that specific school, the district. And second, this is how, maybe they have to confer with the principal, this is how I intend to present the information, and I'm looking for specifics. So it's going to be on January such and such in service day for 15 minutes, or it's going to be at our department meeting, for a half hour, whatever is appropriate, that we have something in place, which we do not at this time, from my understanding.
We do have something in place, Mr. Parker. I did bring that to your attention before. It's a pretty detailed document that they fill out, and then there's approval process that goes through their building principal. It goes to Mr. Voorhees. So we do have that in place. You just don't see it as a board. It's a lot of pieces of paper, and we manage that as administrators. We don't send people out just to go and have a good time.
On that document, does it say this is who else could benefit, A, and B, this is when that information is going to be presented to the rest of the department?
I don't know if it says, it does say who would benefit or what they're going to bring back. Does it say specifically they're going to talk to the staff on January 3rd at 2 o'clock? I'm not sure that we're that detailed, but the building principal, if they're going to authorize, put their John Hancock on the paper, they know the benefit and what they could bring back to staff, and they plan their 1-hour meetings, and they work with Mr. Voorhees to plan the staff development days. So we strategically choose people to bring information back that's going to help extend what we're trying to already do in our buildings.
Okay, what I'm requesting that be formalized. So there has been a discussion with the principal or the department head, and a plan is specifically in place. So as Mr. Lapic was saying, you don't come back in a month, 2 months goes by, and oh yeah, how about that conference that so-and-so went to? But that there be a plan in place, so the money we're investing in this teacher to go or this department head to go, we know we're getting the best bang for the buck.
And how does that differ from what you're currently doing?
I don't know that it does, except for the time and the date that that we can add that to the paper, right? If that's what you want. Yeah.
And the feedback after the conferences, is that part of what you're?
No, they come back and contribute in some way if they're going to go. That's what you're asking for. Like if the music teacher is going to go somewhere, then she's going to have to come back and share what she's learned, probably when her department gets together, because it's of no benefit for her to explain it to the kindergarten teacher.
Right. And that's why I say specific to that group,
Yeah.
right. And working in a public school system and working in the education system and working in this district part-time, I know that that's not currently happening 100%. Perhaps it happens here, there, and nilly, but I don't want to go on probablys. We're looking at spending the community's money, the taxpayers' money, our money as taxpayers. I want to see something formally in place. So I don't know what the difficulty is. If it's happening, then we're just writing down it's going to happen on this date, and that person being approved to go can be planning, how am I going to present this information, et cetera.
Okay, so there's a motion, and did we have a second?
I did second so we could discuss.
Okay. My own feelings are that, based on what Mrs. Feola said, we do have a process in place. So I feel that this motion is well-intentioned, but potentially redundant to a process that's already in place. So what we're essentially suggesting is that we require the administration to do what they're already doing, although you are suggesting that it's not always done. And, you know, for that reason, you know, I'm leaning against the resolution, but I'm certainly open to any other comments from anybody that they might have before we set this for a vote.
This process that you go through, is this something, I mean, other than the part in our board packet about, okay, no, just, right. But is this something that is for board's eyes, or for, like, in the past, has it been shared with the board, or it was just something that was amongst the administration, and then we get the, you know, the one sentence vote yea or nay?
Yeah, no, the board didn't see the documents. I mean, it would be a lot of paperwork, and that's what the administration's job is, to, you know, when the requests come in, to look at them, to align them and make sure they're aligned to what it is our initiatives are in the district and what we're trying to accomplish, and then make the recommendation forward.
Okay, but you know, what Mr. Parker is trying to say here is, we would like, at least, this is what I take from him saying, we'd like to see that. And if we're moving to board docs, then it's not going to be piles of paper. It'll be
Someone's going to have to upload every single one of those things, and you're telling me that you want to read all of the requests that go through?
I think that's what Bill's saying. I'm trying to.
Let me clarify. I'm not looking to review them. I agree with Ms. Feola. That's administration's job. I'm just requesting that we have some, and I'm not quite understanding what the difficulty is. If some on the board feel that administration's already doing this, then what's the difficulty of having it in writing that it's going to continue? I don't get that. But all I'm asking is that there be something in place so whoever's going to a conference or seminar knows, they know, the building principal knows, when they return, this is how the information is going to be shared with the rest of those that would benefit from that.
Would it be helpful if I sent the process out to you so that you could see the process that we have? And if there's one thing missing, off the top of my head, Mr. Parker, because I don't have it in front of me, I would say, the exact date and time that it's going to be handled might not be on there, and we certainly can add that. But maybe we start with letting me send it out to you so you can see what it looks like, and then you could make additional feedback after that. Would that be helpful?
I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to table until the administration has a chance to send this information out to us, and then we can consider it at the next meeting. Motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to table carries 9-0.
Rick, I just wanted to, I don't know if, I guess I'll make it a motion, just to make sure that we have enough board approval for it, and then if we do, we can go forward. It's simply a motion that will have more detail on the agenda on conferences, as into dates of when the conference is going to be, the funds it's coming out of, and what the total cost is expected to be. Right now, it's like a one-sentence thing saying PA Summit. If it's said on there, I'd like to say it on the agenda to where it actually says 50 hours. I know it's on the board packet, 50 hours assessment, travel dates. It's going to be held from August 4th to August 8th, blah, 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 and put that actually on the agenda and the funds it's coming from.
Just a question. Well, you've got a motion, so I'll ask my question after. We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second. So my only question about that is, in light of the coming implementation of board docs, would one of the issues we occasionally have with these kinds of things is there was some additional detail on one of these items that was in the action items, and because we have separate documents, we don't always make the connection between what we read over the weekend and when we're here on Tuesday. And hopefully with the integration of those two separate documents into something more coherent with board docs, then we might accomplish what you're looking for just by virtue of that. But that said, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Jim. Any other new business?
Yes. I just wanted to share with you all that on Sunday, I took my son and my daughter to see The Wiz at Pottstown High School. And it was Sunday matinee, and it was an amazing show. They put on, the production that they put on, it was an all-district show. So there were teachers, there were elementary, middle school, high school. They did a phenomenal job. And I honestly cannot think of a better way to spend my Sunday afternoon than sitting, watching these amazing singers, dancers perform. And it was a packed house. And they said they had been packed the previous 2 nights. They had done it Friday night, Saturday night, and then a Sunday matinee. And I would like to see that happen here. I mean, the amount of children there that were able to go on a Sunday afternoon rather than going at, I'm not even sure what time their evening shows were, but, it was quite a lengthy show. I mean, there was a little boy sitting literally right behind me who was pointing. He must have been maybe 5 years old, and he's standing up and he's pointing at everybody, and he was so excited. And it was because it was there on, it was a Sunday, and I just thought it was fantastic. And I know we don't do Sunday matinees here, but I think it's something that we should look into, because especially if it's a family-friendly show, such as The Wiz or, Wizard of Oz or, Beauty and the Beast, which, has been done previously. It's really nice to see all those families there and the young children. And they're getting a chance to go because it's not at, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night and going on until 10 o'clock. It's going on until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You go home and have dinner, and you still have part of your night left. So anyway, I want to commend Pottstown on the amazing job they did. Their student rep who became a board member was the Lion, and he was awesome. He was so funny. And I do believe that Justin Valentine's stepbrother or half-brother was the Wiz, correct? And he did an amazing job too. So it was just a really nice afternoon, and I would just like to commend them on it and and just say that it's something that I think Pottsgrove could benefit from, and especially the families in Pottsgrove, because it was a really nice time.
Anybody else?
What?
Next year's production is Little Shop of Horrors.
Nice. I actually have one thing, and I'm not looking for a long discussion. I just wanted to make sure I raised the issue. I've heard from a couple of parents in the K2s in reference to our programming as it relates to special education classes specific to learning support and emotional support. And it's my understanding from those parents, which of course I might not have understood it correctly, that in the past we may have had separate classrooms for those two types of students, and that currently we have the students together from those two areas, and that some of the parents are concerned that there may be some issue with that. And so the only reason I'm bringing it up now is as we go through the budget process, I just wanted to let Mrs. Feola and the administration know that I have heard from a few people. I did encourage them to go up, through the normal chain of command in terms of informing people about their concerns, but I can see why it might be troublesome or problematic, or maybe it isn't, and I'm just misinformed. So I just wanted to raise that to you, particularly in light of our attention that we're going to be spending to special education in the near future.
Thank you, Mr. Rabinowitz. And just to make a brief comment about that, we are monitoring our caseload numbers, and we have identified a potential need to add an additional classroom of emotional support students because those numbers are growing. So we're watching that, and that'll be part of our budget presentation as we come back to you this spring. But to comment on your comment, you can't, just because we have money, let's just say, or we want to fund an ES class and a learning support class, say, okay, all of you ES kids have to go over here. You can't do it that way. That's based on their IEP team decision, and it's based on the least restrictive environment and each child is taken into account based on that child and that child's needs. So though I understand that there might be a parent that sees a child who has maybe some severe behavioral issues and they may be perceived as interrupting the instruction of another child, we can't just make that move and say we're going to separate the children because there's legal implications, and we have to make sure that we follow that. So obviously we're aware of a few students who are having some issues, and we're working with those students, but it's not as easy as creating another class or deciding we're going to send them somewhere or something like that. So, but thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Any other new business before we adjourn?
And I wanted to bring up one more. I wanted to say
You're like
congratulations.
Columbo, just one more thing.
One more thing. I wanted to say congratulations. I understand the DECA team went out for states this week and did very, very well. And I think that the public and everybody involved in the DECA team needs congratulations. I saw, obviously, a tweet with many little monster-looking trophies there, and I understand some are going to go on to, is it nationals? Nationals and such. So I want to make sure that everybody, from what I understand in seeing the DECA program, as that program is just exploding here at Pottsgrove, that those involved with the DECA are doing fantastic jobs, and all should be commended.
I would also like to commend the Quiz Bowl team. They went to the MCIU today, and they placed 4th out of, I believe, 18, and which is fantastic, considering we have a great team, but we're not nearly as, some of these other schools have these really well-supported programs that are, these kids just blow everybody away, and our team did really, really well, and I'm very proud of them. And I hope that even though 3 of the varsity are seniors and they'll be graduating, I hope that next year the juniors and the sophomores can sort of pick up and continue to do as well.
Is it open to freshmen?
It absolutely is.
Oh, I know one that might be pretty good at it. All right. Anything else? Public comment, sure.
Good evening again. I'm a parent of 2 Pottsgrove graduates. I'm a taxpayer and a teacher for the district. I respectfully come before you tonight to share my views on professional leave and attending conferences. One of the goals of Pottsgrove School District is to inspire our students to become lifelong learners. But yet it seems as though this board struggles to provide their teachers and administrators with the same opportunity. Before teaching, I did work in the corporate world. And my company sent me all over the country to train. They sent me to Chicago, they sent me to Phoenix, they sent me to San Diego, they sent me to Florida. That's just to name a few of the locations. They understood the investment in their employees and that it would carry over to success for them. On the professional form that we have to fill out, the professional leave form, it specifically answers all of the questions that you guys are asking about. We have to put on that form what will we learn, how it fits into our curriculum, and most importantly, the plan we have to share that information when we return from that conference. An example of this, I had the opportunity to go to a health and phys ed symposium where I learned all sorts of things that I could share with my department. The very next in-service, I led the in-service for the health and phys ed department. It led to a new curriculum, a new unit of study that we do in our department right now. Affording us these opportunities, experiences are invaluable. They pay off for our students in ways that we can't even imagine. I would ask you to respect the professionals that you hire. We research these conferences, and we are looking for new and innovative ways to teach, and reach, and inspire our charges. We are excited to share what we have learned and welcome the opportunity to share our experiences with the boards. I would love to answer any questions that you have about the process, about the form we fill out, about what we do when we come back. We are so excited when we come back from these conferences, and the last thing we want to do is take what we've learned, put it on a shelf, and never use it again. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Reach out to us. Ask us questions. We would love to answer any concerns that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the record, I've been on the board for 3 years and going to board meetings for 5 years, and tonight was the first time that any recommended conference was not approved. So I don't think that the board has struggled to approve the significant majority, but I certainly appreciate your comments, and it's good to hear that you go through that process. So with that, meeting adjourned.